Testing. Oh, thank God. It definitely disconnected. Ah, thank you. Oh my God. Scuff to the max. That's how VTubers roll. That's how we roll. We live by the scuff. I might have to restart. Okay. All right. All right. The scuff life. All right. Well, it's cool. It's all cool. I'm going to go rapid fire now. Let's go all the way back. And I'll do it really fast. So, what is autism? It's and happy Autism Awareness Month. Also, happy International Pink Day. About me, I am a behavioral psychologist specializing in autism. I've been working in the field for 7+ years. Basically, right out of university, I got right into it. I'm back into school, so I am trying to upgrade a lot of my knowledge and getting better at things. And also, I have ADHD, so that's another little tidbit. I'm neurodivergent, so I can't really speak for individuals who are neurotypical, but yeah, I can definitely speak for neurodivergence. Okay, speed through again. So I'm doing like a speed run at this thing now. So what is autism? It is called autism spectrum disorder on the DSM-5, which is the Diagnostic Statistical Manual. That is the thing we use to diagnose people and give all the informations and stuffs. So it's ASD for short. ASD is a neurodevelopmental disorder with differences in communication and differences in behavior. So you'll look at 3 areas: social reciprocity, relationships, nonverbal communication, and sameness. Repetitiveness or repetitive sensory or motor behaviors. So that's kind of those areas that we kind of look at. And again, well, actually, I said that earlier, but now I'm going to have to say it again. Spectrum means the differences there. It's all over the place. So these areas of differences can be different for every single person, and it's not always the same. So you'll always look at different spots of this. Like the way that we like to see autism now is like a color palette thing. I can't really describe it, but what I like to see it is if you open up Photoshop and you open colors, and then you see all that whole color thing. Yeah, that's how I like to describe that. Or on Microsoft Word, and you open your color wheel thing, that opens up, then that's also kind of like how you imagine autism. So it's all over the place. More about it. So what I was talking about, like differences in social emotional reciprocity, differences in nonverbal communication, and differences in developing, maintaining, and understanding relationships. Those are the 3 areas that psychologists take a look at, and they typically choose 2 or like find 2, at least 2, before they give a diagnosis of autism. So when we look at like social emotional reciprocity, that's kind of like how we can understand people based on them feeling sad. Like we will feel that ourselves. Like you see someone having a they're crying, we see that and we feel that. So that's kind of how that's an area where they'll have a difference at. They may not feel that, or they may misinterpret that sort of thing. Differences in nonverbal communicative behaviors used for social interaction. So what that is like, again, like if you see someone like pouting or angry like this, what I was doing in my old earlier, like this, if I'm looking mad, you can tell I'm mad with that kind of expression. But individuals with autism may not see it that way, or they don't understand that kind of thing, especially the younger ones. So I work typically with the younger ones because you want to help those who are younger and try to get them to be at that level so that they can be as independent as they can in their lives. Differences in developing, maintaining, and understanding relationships. So that's an area where they can struggle at. So being able to, the norms of having friends and stuff. So that's an area where they can struggle, and they wouldn't know, like, you would when someone says hi to you, you kind of say hi back, or someone texts you, you kind of text back. Those sort of things you kind of take for granted as a neurotypical person. Those norms. Sometimes an autistic individual will not know that, or will forget that. So that can be those areas. A1. So this kind of breaks down what I was just talking about. Tendency towards flat affect, monotone voice. So this is the social emotional reciprocity stuff. So you'll find that some, not all, will have like a monotone voice, or have like a weird kind of flowy voice. And no, it's not really weird. It's a type of voice. It's a monotone voice can sound like this, like, hello, my name is Noah. It's kind of like a flat voice. But not all have that. Again, this is just like certain flags that we take a look at, and helps psychologists, make that diagnosis. Difficulty initiating conversation outside of areas of interest. So, speaking for myself as an ADHD person, I overprocess. So I have difficulty initiating on conversation, because I'm like thinking a million different types of conversations, while an autistic individual may not have the idea of what to say in the context in that sort of situation, or if they're free, that sort of thing. So that's kind of how we flag that area. And it kind of connects to the next couple things, which is small talk and back and forth conversation. So small talk, for me, I don't like small talk. And for someone who has autism, it can be challenging. And also difficulties with back and forth conversations. Again, like knowing what to say next, even for myself as an ADHD person, like I think of a million things. What should I say? And I kind of stall. That's what we kind of call like we become kind of overwhelmed. So for an individual with autism, it can happen that way. It can also happen where they just don't know what to say, or what happens next. Because what you'll find later on is sameness is such a big thing. So let's keep on going. I'm going to try and speed run, people, speed run. Differences in nonverbal communicative behaviors used for social interaction. Difficulty intuitively understanding nonverbal social cues, body language, and gestures. So body language. So if someone has their arms crossed and their face kind of all scowly, will they understand that? We kind of flag that. That's how we can tell. Tendencies to minimally communicate through facial expressions, body gestures, dislikes eye contact. So eye contact. I'm on the progressive wing of my field of behavioral psychology. So I don't really care about eye contact, because at the end of the day, for myself, speaking for myself, I can't maintain eye contact, and although I am neurodivergent, I try to make eye contact, but again, it feels so awkward. I don't know who else can feel that. What that kind of thing is. And I mean, culturally too, some cultures don't make eye contact. So it's something that I don't take as a big deal, but there are people who do. And honestly, I just say lay off. Anyway, but tendency to minimally communicate through facial expressions or body gestures. It's not every single autistic individual who will have that kind of red flag or flag itself, but it's something that you see, like where they won't point to things, or they won't make an expression, or those sort of things that we flag. Difficulty moderating tone or volume of voice. So when you how we speak at certain levels, and we know the context of when to speak. So if you're in the theater, you kind of have to whisper or not talk at all. Or if you're in a loud environment, you're going to be yelling a little bit louder. That's kind of how that kind of goes. But for autistic individuals, they may not know when those sort of contexts happen. So they may stay at a certain volume majority of the time. So that's kind of a flag for us. And verbal and nonverbal presentation of fragmented, not, oh, you're right. In my muted state, I did not understand what that meant. So I'm going to skip that. So speed run. Criteria A3. Differences in developing, maintaining, and understanding relationships. So that's the thing. So difficulty initiating, developing holistic friends. So, you know, like being able to approach someone and say, hey, you want to be friends? You know, like when you're little kids and you're doing that sort of thing. An autistic individual may not know how to do that. And that's, again, that's perfectly fine. And those are differences that they will have. Difficulty maintaining friends, again, like those norms that neurotypical people will kind of take for granted. Autistic individuals may not know that. Again, it's a lot of you know, not knowing what to do and picking up those sort of things. So we, you know, we can say that neurotypical people will be able to pick up things because they learn by observing, but individuals with ADHD or autism may not pick up those sort of things. Difficulty with shared imaginative play. So that's kind of like, you know how you can play cops and robbers and like make a tent and I don't know, or imagine that it's a castle with a bunch of your friends sort of thing. That's kind of what that means. So autistic individuals, not all of them, again, emphasis, not all, may not be able to share that kind of imagination or play with you sort of thing. And difficulty with context shifting. So if a conversation changes, they may not be able to change the conversation with them. They may stick with the same conversation, or like if like context. So if something happened to someone and then you move on from that, like if you scrape your knee and then you put on a band-aid, maybe they might get just stuck on the scraped knee though for the whole time. That's kind of how that or what that means. Okay, next. I'm not going to read the beginning part, but again, we look at like 2 out of the 4 of these sort of things. So like the other one, we look at 2 out of the 3. This is 2 out of the 4. Stereotyped or repetitive motor movements use objects or speech. So what that just looks like is stimming. So, but more correct term nowadays is self-stimulatory behavior. It's a long word, but a lot of the autism world probably knows it as stimming. So what that is just like playing maybe with your, you know, like I'm wearing a hoodie right now. So you see those things on my hoodie, those strings. Like I could be playing with those strings, and that's like a stim. And I'd like to emphasize that people, autistic people are not the only people who do that. Neurotypical people do that, and ADHDers for sure do that too. Like myself, I like to click pens. I like to click them. So even I have one of those what were they called? I forgot what they were called, but they were these toys that you can play with, like those fidget spinners. But I had like those fidget clickers, so I had one of those. But yeah, they like it's something that kind of self-soothes people with autism or even ADHDers. It's something that gives comfort. So what that can look like for individuals with autism can look like that, like playing with a little string, or they'll make sounds. Like ADHDers will also make sounds. It's called a vocal stim. And those are the things that you'll find. Yeah, it's a comfort thing. The other thing is instances on sameness. So that's routines and rituals. So what you'll find is they like to keep things the same, and they like to stick to their schedules. So, like for instance, imagine your kind of schedule. You wake up in the morning, you maybe go to the washroom, and then when you're done, you just head downstairs and make a coffee or breakfast for yourself. That's kind of your routine, and you're used to that, and that's really important to an individual with autism, and that can be a flag for us when we're diagnosing. So it's these sort of things and that we take note of, and that's an aspect of autism. And rituals, like rituals can be like I don't know, clapping your hands before you do an exam. Or yeah, or like the Japanese people, when they before they eat, they go itadakimasu. So that's kind of like a ritual right there. So imagine that, but that's something uh, individuals with autism can do, and I say can because not all of them, but that's something that they may do, and that's a flag for us as psychologists. The other thing is highly restricted fixated interests that are abnormal in intensity or focus. So what that just basically means is they have special interests and they're really interested in those things and may try to become experts. That's the thing, that typically we say like savants. You see them in TV shows like The Good Doctor. He's an autistic doctor who is an exceptional surgeon. So you see that kind of thing, and that's what this talks about. It's like autistic individuals will really love a certain thing, and they will try to learn all about it. But I want to also say that not all of them will do that. ADHDers also are capable of that too. Speaking for myself, you know, we tend to jump in a hole of doom where we kind of learn as much as we want because we like it and we get a lot of joy out of it. So for myself, I love everything computers. So I'm all into the building computers. I watch Linus Tech Tips, and I love all technology. So I'm like a techno nerd. So that's my special interest. I mean, even I think Linus from Linus Tech Tips has ADHD. So you'll definitely see, like, when we have a special interest, that's something that we love and we have enjoyment out of it. So that's something that autistic people will or can have. Hypo reactivity, sensory input. So that's basically all your senses. So whether it's sight, sound, smell, taste, feeling, touch, feeling, they can have like a hyper or a hypo reaction to it. So like you may see like for those of you that are neurotypical or ADHD, or you're just newly diagnosed with autism, you'll notice that some individuals walk around with headphones, and those individuals have just a hyper sensitivity to sounds. So they get little, not little, but like sounds, big sounds, or any volume, a certain volume of sound can be too much for them. And so we got to work on giving them the tools like a headphones to kind of help reduce the noise level so that they can feel comfortable in those environments. So that's kind of what that means. And hypo is meaning little. So I've worked with individuals who don't have a lot of feeling, so they'll really dig in to get as much feeling as possible with their like touch feelings. They don't have much I don't know, like their neurons or something like that, or they're not feeling much. Okay, moving faster. Criteria C, D, E. So traits must be present early developmental. So we try to diagnose as early as possible, but it doesn't always happen. And sometimes it will happen later in life. Kind of like myself, ADHD was diagnosed for myself very late. And sometimes, you grow up and you see people who are diagnosed early in their lives, and that they can learn to work with it. So same thing goes for autism. We try to find it as early as possible so we can, work on giving them the support so they can live a very independent life, and help them through anything that they need. Really, that's it that they want. Criteria D, traits cause clinically significant impairment. So to be diagnosed with this, and we need to see that it is significantly impacting your life. You can still be diagnosed with it, and it's not much of a impact on yourself, but we typically look for that impact. Criteria E, these disturbances are not better explained by intellectual disability or global developmental delay. So, what that means, I think that's where I left off before I scuffed out. Um, it's like there's a idea that autism is an intellectual disability, and no, it's a neurodevelopmental disability. That's what it is. You can have autism and an intellectual disability, but they're not the same thing. So that's why that kind of statement is there. So if we can explain it by intellectual disability or global developmental delay, then it's autism on our diagnosis. All right, here's a fun picture. What people think autism looks like. So it still has the spectrum, the colors. And then they look at less autistic on one end and more autistic or very autistic on the other. And what does that all mean? It means nothing. I find whenever I'm trying to explain it to people, it that's kind of how they see it. And it's very black and white. But it's not. And there's so many stereotypes about it, and I think I will get into that a little bit later, but that's kind of what typically people see. I just thought this was a funny picture that kind of shows the stereotype that you find. And then what it can actually look like, the one on the right, that's exactly it. So it's different colors. It's a wheel of colors and different areas, different parts that make us who we are, different skills that we have, and some autistic individuals will have different areas of those skills. So that's the realistic look at it. So and what's funny is that that's exactly what we do as behavior psychologists in the field of autism. That's how we kind of break things down and look at areas that we can help the younger ones work on. So like if their language isn't that great, we kind of help them out with finding language devices or working on building language. So depends on the need. But yeah, we look at it in this kind of way, and I hope that now that there's more advocacy, that's kind of how we're shifting our look and our view, that autism isn't a straight line and it isn't black and white, and it's definitely more of a spectrum, and there's different areas that people will have. Okay, this was startling because when I studied back then, it was, where is it, 1 in 44. That was where it was before. Now it's 1 in 36. You can only imagine that people getting diagnosed with autism has increased a lot, and it's all thanks to advocacy, and a better tools and better, I guess, identification too. So we're able to better understand it and better put in the right place, because a lot of times we get misdiagnosed. It can be it can happen to be depression, anxiety. It can be any of those things that could be misdiagnosed, but in the end it could have always been autism. So that's kind of how these rates kind of increased over time. Like, look at that, 1970, no, sorry, In 1970, it was 1 in 10,000. Now in 2023 is 1 in 36. That's 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 a lot. So more and more people are getting diagnosed with autism, and you know that's better because now that we have a better way to identify and understand, we can help people better. Oh, the other fact is there are it's a 4 times more likely for boys to be diagnosed with autism than girls, but that's been rising. Um, that statistic has been rising. I can even see it whenever we get um, new kiddos coming in. There's definitely more girls, and it's kind of nice to see because now that we're able to identify it better and bring that parity, because I don't think it should look like that. I think it's a lot more equal, um, and it's a shame that some don't get diagnosed and get misdiagnosed in the process. And a lot of that also happened in the ADHD side, where a lot of boys get diagnosed for it and girls don't. They typically just get labeled something else or just being very talkative. So that's kind of what happens with these sort of diagnoses, that they get thrown under the table or get lost over time. So that's a cool statistic there. 317%. That's just wow. All right. We're nearing the end of my thing. So here we go. Things to be aware of. Autism is not caused by vaccines. Like when I was studying back then, they would say that was like number one. Don't ever listen to that. Autism is not caused by vaccines. No matter what you hear, no, that did not happen. There's parents who think that. It's not true. No. Autism is not caused by poor parenting either. Your parents did not. I mean, if you're a parent and your child has autism, don't blame yourself. It's not you. It's totally not you. Um, they're just born that way, and that's it's something we have to kind of accept. No, not kind of. We have to accept. That's it. That's the reality. So it's not. Don't take it personal. It's not your parenting or anything like that, and it's not caused by vaccines. Absolutely not. And autism is not something that can be cured. Okay, you're not gonna find a cure about it. No, just no. If you hear someone say that they have the cure to autism, what? No, there is no cure. There are supports. There are like anyone who's even neurotypical, mental health wise, you can always see a psychotherapist and go through CBT, ACT, all those sort of different types of therapies to help deal with certain things. That's also there for people with autism. Autistic individuals are not alone. You have supports. It's there. If there's something you're really struggling with, you can find help. So, yeah, that is the big thing. Also, just don't think there's a cure, but there is supports and there is ways to help with it. Autistic people are not all violent, savants, lack understanding, lack feeling, etc. Just don't assume the stereotypes. That's what I'm trying to get at. Don't assume. Don't assume that they're all the same. Autistic people, like the notion that they are violent. No, some are so nice. Some are very kind. Majority are really nice. Actually, they're all nice. You just don't know. You don't get to know them. So, it's how we approach things. That's the big thing. there's people who try to change them too much or try to not understand them that cause the biggest problems. And that's why bringing awareness and being able to teach, even like what I do, I try to teach parents or try to teach people about this is what I do. So I want people to be informed that we have to be careful and be understanding of these things, like the rituals or the schedules, those sort of things. Those are important, and we shouldn't discount those or like disregard them. Those are huge. Yeah. So they're not all violent. It's not true. Savants, again, I think I touched that. Not everyone is a savant, but they'll have their interests. Lack understanding, some may be that way, but not all of them. And when it comes to understanding, maybe they just don't know. They didn't learn it. Simple as that. And if they don't know, teach them. Easy. Lack feeling, same sort of thing. Feelings. They have feelings. Absolutely they do. Why do you think they can get upset? Just like you and me. They have feelings too. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of things. They are people. Autistic people are people. So don't feed into the stereotypes. That's it. And let me just move out of the way. Autism is not a problem. No. I think that's the biggest thing. People want to find a cure. People blame themselves or blame vaccines. It's no, just chill. Autism is not a problem, just like any other thing, like ADHD. It's just a neuro developmental thing. We think differently. That's it. One of the things that I like to, my visual for it is like those switchboards, old school switchboards for telephones. Like, instead of things being wired a certain way for neurotypical people, neurodivergent people are like wired differently. So that's kind of how I see it. All right, things to be aware of, part 2. Autistic people prefer identity first as opposed to person first language. So that's one thing you'll probably have noticed throughout this thing. I've been saying autistic people, autistic person, autistic individual. It's the recent advocacy of it has been always kind of like we want our who we are as, or what we are first, that identifies us. So being autistic is something they want to be proud of. It's just, that's kind of how it is. They don't want to shame it or anything like that. And as opposed to person first language, that just basically means, rather than saying an autistic person, you're saying a person with autism. So that's something just to be aware of. So when you're talking about it, you can say autistic people, but you also can't go wrong with saying person with autism. It's not the biggest deal, but it's kind of the shift of what's going on. The puzzle piece. The puzzle piece is not a cool symbol anymore. You'll probably see like Autism Speaks, and the autism symbols in general have always been a puzzle, and there's been a shift in that too. So there's no more of that. The shift has been the infinity symbol, and I'll explain why. So the idea is that the puzzle piece kind of has this meaning that autistic people have to be solved, and they have missing pieces of the puzzle that to be fully put together as a person. That's what it has implied. But reality is autism is a part of who they are, just as much as ADHD is a part of me. And for other ADHDers, it's a neurodevelopmental disorder. So it's definitely something part of them. And that's why the puzzle piece has fallen out of favor over the years and very recently. I don't know if Autism Speaks is going to change their symbol at some point, but that's kind of what has happened. The symbol has this kind of negative meaning and kind of identification, and you don't want to be thought of as just like this broken thing that needs to be solved, and I totally get that. um while the puzzle piece, on the other hand, that is the or not puzzle piece, the infinity symbol, on the other hand, is what we've shifted towards as the new symbol. The infinity symbol is kind of just means it's autistic individuals are an expanse. There is so much to know, and there's so much different, and it's always continuing. And that's kind of, it's like the flip. It's the reversal of what is broken is what is fixed, but always going forward. It's kind of getting really, really meta and when I explain it like that. But yes, that's kind of what the infinity symbol kind of means at this point for autistic individuals. And you can see for both, they use the various colors to kind of represent the spectrum, but that's why the symbols have changed. So that's some information there. All right. How do I know if I have autism? So, first things first, any psychologist, any professional will tell you, see your doctor, see a psychologist, see a psychiatrist, go to them. Don't just come to me and say, diagnose me. No, go see someone in person. Seriously. If you want to find out, go see them. They will, seeing in person as opposed to virtual is a completely different thing. So they'll be better equipped to identify that for you. And I think I mentioned this before. We try to identify it as early as possible, but again, sometimes it falls through the cracks because you get misdiagnosed or you mask it really well. I know for my ADHD, I masked it. I masked it for so long. I didn't even know that I had ADHD until I was like, hey, do you not experience these things that I'm dealing with? And they're like, no. And hey, you, do you do that? No. Oh, I'm different. Okay. So that's kind of how that kind of happened for me. So yeah, if you masked it for so long or you never really identified it, maybe take a look after everything that I've kind of talked about. Lastly, but not least, there's some tests you can do. I'm not gonna say that they're like concrete. Yes, these are the things that will identify you. In fact, you know what? I might just do one. I might do these tests. So after I'm done this, I'm gonna do a test and see how it is. I know I'm diagnosed with ADHD. I'm also a psychologist, so I know what this is all about. But let's see what these autism tests are like. You can try them if you like to try it. They even have an ADHD test on the same website, so it's very interesting. But I'd like, if you wanna just, mess around and see what test is there, you can try it. But the real tests, the real ones, are through your doctor, through your psychologist, through your psychiatrist. They will have the proper ones. All right. Anything else? Secondary and more diagnosis. So sometimes autistic individuals will have other diagnoses, like anxiety, OCDs. I'm trying to think what else. But there's a whole bunch of more that they can have, like also oppositional defiant disorder. That's something else that can happen. So there's a whole bunch of different diagnoses that can be coupled or more with autism. Even ADHD can be coupled with autism. So you can have autism and ADHD together. That can happen. But yeah, that's there's more. You can have more mental health supports. So yes, when you have those secondary or more diagnosis, there's definitely more supports out there for individuals with ADHD. You can see a psychotherapist. You can go receive CBT or cognitive behavior therapy. You can have ACT, acceptance commitment therapy. You can have ABA, applied behavior analysis, as therapy. Speech language pathology. You can have occupational therapy. You can have a physiotherapy. There's different types of supports out there, not just mental health, but different types of supports that can help you as an autistic individual on whatever you're working through. That will help you. What does neurodivergence mean? It just means that, like, so for the longest time, neurotypical, you for the longest time it used to be called, like, there's normal people and there's weirdos. That's not correct anymore. There is neurodivergent and there's neurotypical people. So neurodivergent, so if you were to think of it as a line, like if you think Loki, the TV show based on Marvel, where they have the timeline, the sacred timeline, think of that as your neurotypical people. That's their timeline. And when we think of neurodivergence, that's a splinter in the timeline. So we go a completely different way for ADHDers and autistic people. We're on a whole different tangent, and that's kind of how it is. That's what it means. So divergent means it's off the regular or the typical, and it's often to a different side. Hope that makes sense. Are ADHD people the same as autistic people, or are they the same? Or are they not the same? Sorry. I messed up on that. I was writing this very quickly. Again, I was scuffing this way through to get this stream going because I got home late. But yeah, ADHD people, we share certain things. And I think I'll do it in another, I might do another psychology mental health stream next month, but ADHD people do share some things with autistic people. Where we definitely differ is where autistic people want sameness. ADHD people want different. We cannot stand the same thing. We need excitement in our lives. We need things changing, moving, go, go, go. Let's do it. Let's go. That's the sort of thing. That's the difference with ADHD people. We tend to want something because we are lacking in dopamine. We need some dopamine. We need dope. While autistic people, they good. They good. They don't need those sort of things. ADHD people, we need something. We need some excitement in our lives. Or so yeah, that's one aspect. But I'll go over in like an ADHD stream next month. So yeah, there's some things that we share, other things we don't. And the end. Finally made it. It was an hour long. Could have been done right at 8, but again, scuffity scuff. That's how it goes. So let me go backtrack now. Let me switch my chat. Let's do this. Switch. There we go. Well, I'm gonna get the test up. And if you have any questions, if anyone's out there, I'll take the questions. Oh, it didn't work. While I get this test up, and we'll let's see if Noa Aurelyte passes any of the tests. You know, one of the things that I was surprised yet not so surprised was that there's a lot of VTubers that are neurodivergent. So both how do I do this again? Oh yeah, there it is. Both either ADHD or ASD or autism. So it's kind of cool to see that, but at the same time makes sense, you know. The medium of being a VTuber is accessible, if that makes sense. All right. Okay. I have the test, so I'm gonna switch my scene. Okay. All right. Again, if you have any questions, I'll take them. Or if you want to share a story or share something about yourself, that'd be cool. But I'm going to do a test in the meantime. There we go. All right. Short autism spectrum quotient. I laugh because these are not like accurate or real tests, but so this is 10 statements. This is 50. Asperger's. I forgot to also mention that Asperger's is not anymore in the DSM or an actual diagnosis. It's all part of ASD now. Camouflaging autistic traits. Very interesting. Repetitive behavior questionnaire. Wow. Okay. Let's try the 50. Let's try it. Okay. Contents. Who the test is, blah, blah, blah. Okay. I don't really care. 50. 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, that's not bad. Baron and Cohen. Oh, that's a really... Okay, I know this. Baron Cohen, big in the behavior psychology field. So maybe there's some credibility, but again, go to a doctor. 2001. Okay, you know what? Kind of like it. So, here's the test. And you're free to follow along. I prefer to do things with others rather than on my own. You know what? I do enjoy being with others. Like, I mean, I love collabs. So, I mean, I definitely agree. But other times I'm also an introvert. So, like, I like my alone time. But I'll leave it there. Okay? I prefer to do things the same way over and over again. Again, I'm ADHD, so no. I'll do a slight disagree. If I try to imagine something, I find it very easy to create a picture in my mind. Yes. Yeah. I frequently get so strongly absorbed in one thing that I lose sight of other things. That is an ADHD thing. So I'm going to agree. I often notice small sounds when others do not. ADHD thing, by the way. That is an ADHD thing. I usually notice car number plates or similar strings of information. Again, we share a lot of things. Other people frequently tell me what I've said is impolite, even though I think it's polite. No, I'm pretty good there. I don't think I've been told otherwise. These people are lying to me. So I definitely disagree. When I'm reading a story, I can easily imagine what the characters might look like. Yeah, I'd say so. I'm fascinated by dates. No, I'm terrible with dates. In a social group, I can easily keep track of several different people in conversations. No. I get overstimulated. And that's an ADHD thing too. So I slightly disagree. I can try. If I focus really hard, I can pin down the person I'm trying to listen to. But when there's so many people talking at once, I'm trying to absorb all that information. I find social situations easy. I slightly agree. Again, like I'm an introvert at the same time I'm overstimulated, so it gets a little I tend to notice details that others do not. I'm rather detail oriented, so I'll say between these two. You know what? Just for kicks, I'll do definitely agree. I would rather go to a library than a party. Again, I'm an introvert. This is not fun. If it's a V2 party, sure. Slightly disagree. I find making up stories easy. I don't. You know what? Actually, I do like making stories. Yeah. I find myself drawn more strongly to people than to things. Is there an in between? Like, I like I like both. I like both. I don't know. I tend to have very strong interests, which I get upset about if I can't pursue. No. If I can't go through with it, I'm not bummed. I accept it. I enjoy social chit chat. Yeah, depends on the person. When I talk, it isn't always easy for others to get a word in edgeways. Like being able to butt in. No, I'm pretty respectful, so yeah. No, I definitely disagree. I am fascinated by numbers. No, I'm bad at math. So please don't give me a number. I'm in psychology for a reason. Even though we do some statistic stuff, my field of statistics is not anything intense. When I'm reading a story, I find it difficult to work out characters' intentions. Now, I'm okay. I don't particularly enjoy reading fiction. No, I love fiction. I prefer to read fiction. I also like autobiographies too, but I don't really read much. I find it hard to make new friends. I'm an introvert, so that's where that goes. But at the same time, I'm also doing VTubing to kind of give myself a social life. So I'll give a slight disagree, just part of personal preference and whatnot. I notice patterns in things all the time. I don't know. Part of my job is to find patterns, so it's kind of like shooting myself in the foot. Slightly agree. I'd rather go to the theater than a museum. Definitely agree. Museums are boring. I mean, it's interesting, but like, I'd rather see a movie. It does not upset me if my daily routine is disturbed. Ish. I think anybody wouldn't want to be changing their schedule last second. I frequently find that I don't know how to keep a conversation going. Wait. No. Yeah, I agree. I lose my ability. I find it easy to read between the lines. Yes, I can read between the lines. It's part of my job too. I usually concentrate more on the whole picture rather than the small details. I mean, I can shift between them. I wish there was a middle. I'm not very good at remembering phone numbers. Absolutely. Again, not great at numbers. That's why the invention of the iPhone and Android phones and their iOS and Android having our phone numbers and contacts has just been a godsend. I don't usually notice small changes in a situation or a person appearance. That's not my neighbor. I can definitely notice changes. I know how to tell if someone's listening to me is getting bored. Yes, I can tell. If you're getting bored, I get it. I'm just going through the stream. I'm sorry. I find it easy to do more than one thing at once. I think when I talk on the phone, I'm not sure when it's my turn. No, I'm pretty sure. I enjoy doing things spontaneously. That's part of the ADHD. I am often the last to understand the point of a joke. No, like if there's an inside joke, I won't know it, but like most jokes I get. I find it easy to work out when or what someone is thinking or feeling just by looking at their face. Yep. If there is an interruption, I can switch back to what was doing very quickly. Slightly. ADHD thing again. I'm good at social chit chat. Again, it depends on what we're talking about. If it's something I really, really don't care about, I think that can go for anyone. I I mean, I can. People often tell me that I keep going on and on about the same topic. No. No. When I was young, I used to enjoy playing games involving pretend with other children. Oh, for sure. That was me. I like to collect information about categories of things. No. I find it difficult to imagine what it would like. I'm saying slightly no because I'm not sure if it's an absolute no. I find it difficult to imagine what it would be like to be someone else. No, I can definitely fit in someone else's shoes. I like to plan an activity to I participate carefully. Yeah, I do. I'm very meticulous. I enjoy social occasions. I I again, I wish there was somewhere in the middle. I can enjoy it if I choose to. I find it difficult to work out people's intentions. No, I don't. New situations make me anxious. I kind of agree. I enjoy meeting new people. Um, I'm neither for or against that. Like I'm indifferent, but it's not the worst thing. I'm a good diplomat. I think so. I try. I am not very good at remembering people's birth dates. Ooh. Yeah. I'm going to try hard to do that. That's one of my goals in life. I know a few birthdays, so I'm going to do slightly agree. Oh, wait, no, slightly disagree. I find it very easy to play games with children that involve pretending. Or. Okay, let's score. Where am I? Score is 13. What does that mean? Oh, it's making me download something. Okay. What does it mean? Oh, that it made me download the score. Okay, I think the scoring was up top here. 13, 13, 13. Okay. Yeah, this is looking very, very nice. I like this test. I'm fascinated by dates. Total AQ score. Interesting. Scoring range is 0 to 50. Threshold score is 26 and above. So if you score 26 or higher, you're autistic. So I scored 13, so I'm not. Likely not. But if I were to do an ADHD test, I think I would score higher. 79.3% of autistic people score 32 or higher. Interesting. Most non-autistic males score 17 or on average. I was 13. Most non-autistic females score 15 on average. Interesting. You can take the test using 2 methods of scoring, automated scoring or self-scoring. You know what? Do the test. I think it's really fun. I think it's good. Again, get tested by a doctor, psychologist, or psychiatrist. But I actually don't think this is the worst test to take if you're curious. So it's not bad. Definitely give that a try. That's not bad. There's an empathy quotient. So, you know how I said that autistic individuals may have a difference in empathy or able to socially reciprocate or socially emotionally reciprocate? This would be the kind of test you want to check out. Aspie quiz, like Asperger's. Camouflaging autism, if you're like hiding it, if you masked your autism for a long time and you don't know how to identify it, you can try that. RBQ, repetitive behavior question. So if you wanted to check out if you have repetitive behaviors. But there it is. ADHD tests. Self-report scale, ADHD self-report scale. Okay, I'm gonna just do this for my own self. It's 18 questions. So again, this is not autism anymore. This is just me doing an ADHD test. And this, if you want to find out, again, it does a scoring system, 0 to 6. Threshold is 4+. Okay. Gotcha. Let's see. How often do you have trouble wrapping up the final details of project once the challenging parts have been done? Sometimes it happens. Like if I'm working on a design, getting the final details of it, like all done, I do find is a barrier. I also do find the barrier is like getting started, like finding what I'm trying to, my inspiration piece. So like when I was working on Fimu's or Fimu's schedule, I definitely had some blockage. Like I was having a hard time like trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And then when I was nearing, like I got it started and then I was like nearing the end of it, I was thinking, what am I going to do as the final details? And I was like trying to plan out how all those pieces would go together. So I'd definitely say sometimes. How often do you have difficulty getting things in order when you have to do a task that requires organization? I'm fairly organized as a person, but like if you saw my desk right now, you'll see that it's immaculate. It is very clean. I'm an organized person, but when I get messy, I tend to leave it messy. How often do you have difficulty getting things in order when you have to do a task that requires organization? I'm going to say sometimes again. How often do you have problems remembering appointments or obligations? Oh my God. If I don't have it on my calendar, good luck reminding me. So I'm going to put often. When you have a task that requires a lot of thought, how often do you avoid or delay getting started? Often. How often do you fidget or squirm with your hands? Oh my God, very often. How often do you feel overly active or compelled to do things like you were driven by a motor? Well, if something pops in my head, like I need to do it, I have to do it because otherwise I'm going to forget it. Um, Again, often. How often do you make careless mistakes when you have to work on a boring or difficult project? Ah, one of the first signs I didn't like looking back with my ADHD was that I was really bad at math, and not because I'm not great at it. It's because I found it boring. I didn't really have any interest in it, and because of that, I would make sloppy mistakes all the time. Um, only later in life where I kind of appreciated math is when that kind of got better and I had more interest. And it's almost the same for everything else. Like if I'm not interested in it, I will make mistakes and you'll see it. Um so I'm gonna say often. How often do you have difficulty keeping your attention when you're doing a boring or repetitive task? Oh, very often. How often do you have difficulty concentrating on what people say to you even when they are speaking to you directly? I can zone out. Especially when there's a lot of people talking and I'm like in a busy room and someone's talking in front of me. I zone out and I start fixating on someone else's voice, and then I start looking at other things, and then I get overstimulated and I lose track of what's going on. But it's not as bad as other people I've worked with. Like when I'm focused, I'm focused. So I'm going to say sometimes. How often do you misplace or have difficulty finding things at home or at work? It's sometimes or rarely. I'll say it's in between there. I'll say sometimes. How often are you distracted by activity or noise around you? Often. Like if I hear a sound, what was that? What happened? That'd be me. How often do you leave your seat in meetings or other situations which you are expected to remain seated? Sometimes I got in trouble. How often do you feel restless or fidgety? Often. How that's okay, admission. That's kind of why my streams tend to be on the shorter end, because I cannot sit for hours, and it hurts my butt for one, and I'm getting like restless. How often do you have difficulty unwinding or relaxing when you have time to yourself? No, I don't have any problem with that. Like I'll say rarely. How often do you find yourself talking too much when you are in a social situation? Rarely, please. When I get into a talking situation, I try to get out of it. When you're in a conversation, how often do you find yourself finishing the sentences? Oh, I noticed that about myself. Often. How often do you have difficulty waiting your turn in situations when turn taking is required? Rarely. I can wait my turn. How often do you interrupt others when they are busy? Rarely. Okay, let's see what I got. Score of 13, part A 6, part B 7. Okay, let's go. Do I have ADHD? Although you get 5 choice for questions 1 to 3, 9. If you score 4 or more on part A, then the test shows you have symptoms of highly consistent ADHD. Yeah. Checks out. And further investigation is warranted. Yeah, I've already been investigated. It's done. So, that's a little insight of what ADHD tests, what it can look like. This is not, again, like an accurate one. I'm pretty impressed with the autism test. Again, it was based on research, and it is fairly nice. But I'd go to your doctor or psychologist or psychiatrist to get tested. But yeah, that's kind of it. So if you were ever interested, if you were like curious whether you had autism, have autism, you could try that. It's a fun little thing. And you can see whether you're affected by that. If not, maybe you have ADHD. You could try that too. So if you really feel something's up. But otherwise, just check out and go see your doctor if something doesn't feel right. Like, but the best way to see is if you're aware of those sort of things that I kind of discussed earlier. But yeah, I'm pretty much done. Wow, 2 hours. 2 hours of streaming. All right. Okay, well, that was a very scuffy stream. I'm very disappointed. Like, I thought I was very past the my microphone gets shut off phase, because my old microphone was doing that every single time. That was so annoying. And not only that, I had to have my microphone up close and personal. Like, sometimes my VTube, my iPhone would not be able to track me because my microphone was right in my face. So basically, if you were to see it, my microphone was right there every single time. But yeah, I'm sad. I didn't want the microphone to go out like that, and I was talking for some time. That is annoying. Anyway, it's done. Whatever. I got through with it. Hope you enjoyed the little informative type of stream. Yeah, I thought it would be nice to do a little different thing. I was hoping to play a game, but now it's like 2 hours long, and I have ADHD, so it's just I need to do something else now. So, with that said, thank you for coming tonight. I'll try another stream next time on ADHD. Next stream will be on Friday, playing Helldivers 2. I'll see you then. I will be playing with Fimu and Sucrose Cerise, or Cerise? Sweet? Cerise? I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name. And Usagi, the rabbit, the bunny. So we will all be together again playing Helldivers 2, and we'll have fun with those antics. And then Saturday will be the Goose Goose Duck game with Minty and Psycho. So yeah, that'll be fun. All right, I'm done. I'm closing stream. So I'm Noa Aurelyte, and I am over and out. Bye.